Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to milsimunits.com and our podcast number 9. Tonight we have several members of Expedient Solutions, and that includes Andrew.
Hi.
And
Hi.
oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm Andrew. Hi, I lead over Equinox team with Expedient Solutions.
Excellent. Welcome. It's good to have you, Andrew. And with you as well, we have Jeremiah.
Hello, I'm Jeremiah. I am in charge of Eclipse, which is our main infantry unit.
Outstanding. All right, gentlemen. Well, like I was saying before we started the podcast, this is really kind of my first in-depth peek into a PMC unit as such. So I'm definitely interested in getting to learn more about you and your operations. So with that, we'll get right into it. All right. So to start, let me ask you each, about your own kind of individual experiences. How did you get into Milsim, way back when?
Sure. So I'll start off. I've always been interested in the military and simulating it in whatever way I can. Um, Milsim itself, I didn't really get big into um, until I started playing Battlefield, like way back when I was a little bit younger.
Hmm.
Um, I actually ran into and met Jeremiah and Mason, one of the other directors for Expedient Solutions. Um, I ran into them on Battlefield like way back when, and that's when we started playing together. Uh, and we kind of had some common ground in some of the Milsim units that we had been in the past. Um, they had been in at different times than I had, and we hit it off. Uh, we started running different Milsim units on different games, and it just kind of went from there.
Outstanding. Well, it sounds like you guys, you both got long history across different games, different, levels of immersion here. So yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to hearing how that led to the development of Expedient Solutions and where you've come from. So with that, what about you, Jeremiah? Tell us about your background in Milsim.
So I have been running Milsims on and off for the past 9 years. I started off actually quite young. I was like 12 years old, running a wildland sim known as Eclipse PMC. Just through the years, I met Mason pretty early on, Andrew much later on, but I've gathered a lot of experience, mostly from console Milsim. Um, and yeah, so the unit evolved, but we've kind of kept the same core thing of mercenaries, just because I've always found them cool. I was inspired seeing the footage from Blackwater stuff in the early days of the GWAT, that
Yep.
kind of thing.
Yep.
And I like that vibe. I like how that rolls, and I've just always kind of liked it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I was checking your website, and you noted there that I mean you take the milsim seriously. You're hardcore in Arma 3, and you really tried to kind of develop and bring out the most of the lore that goes into not only the unit but the operations that you guys are engaged in. You noted you do a lot of foreign internal defense missions and things like that. So I think it's fascinating. It's a different side of warfare, security, stability, however you want to look at it. So, tell me more about the story behind Expedient Solutions. How did you guys get it all started?
Jeremiah, that's all you, man.
Yep. Okay, so the unit started back on Wildlands, like I said. So operating down in Bolivia, that is kind of murky because back then that was before I really had a good grasp on things. But we've kind of developed the unit from being just Eclipse. We eventually name changed to Expedient Solutions to sound more professional, and to have that as an overarching holding company that holds all of the different teams as their own separate thing, just to allow better integration of everything. But the way we got started over here on Arma was honestly just it started out formatting the ideas for it, just playing Arma, Anastasi, just kind of as a friend group with various different friends. and we decided to kind of formalize it, and we're hoping to get it going a little bit larger, increase the scale, increase the realism.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I guess every unit has its own kind of humble beginning story, but that you're kind of, taking this transnational avenue of approaching your operations and kind of weaving that immersion into it. I mean, I think it's fascinating, and I'm looking forward to not only learning more but seeing more and hearing how you guys pull this off on a regular basis. So. With that being said, how do you guys structure your operations? Give me your typical schedule. What do your weeks and months look like, and how does your PMC focus make you unique compared to a lot of the other Milsim units out there?
Well, we host our operations at 1400 EST every Sunday. We've found that it works really well with our schedules, and we're able to get a good handful of different timetables situated there. Um, we actually recently met a Venezuelan member who just joined with us, and it turned out that it worked really well for him as well. Um, we we start off our operations. We literally start up our server either the day before or a couple of hours before the operation itself, just to work out everything and make sure that it's stable.
Yep.
After that, our actual op time begins at 1400. We hop on Anastasi. We've historically played on Anastasi. Um, I mean, the entire time that our unit's been alive, we found that it works really well for what we're trying to do, and especially with starting out as a new unit, it is a lot easier to manage than any one of us like actually attempting to Zeus long term. Um, our op times begin at 1400. People can come and go as they feel. Um, the ops don't officially end until everybody gets off the server. Um, there have been several times where like I'll have work on a Monday and I'll get off the server. I'll play for about 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours, and then I'll be done. And they might play a little bit longer. Mason, Jeremiah, and some of the other guys will play a little bit longer. Um, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah,
But
so you got some options for just about everybody there.
for sure, yeah, we try to accommodate as many people as we're able to by just having the unit work as long as it can be. There's no like penalty, of course, for just leaving early. If you have to leave early, like life comes first, you know.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's one of the great benefits about playing on a game mode like Anastasi, where um, we're really able to fit in everybody else's time and everybody else's play style and however long they're able to work for.
Yeah, it's a good mode. Now, tell me about your membership. I mean, are your PMCs primarily North America based, EU? I mean, do you have a global kind of outreach in terms of your recruitment and retention?
We actually this is I want to get Jeremiah's input after this as well, but um, this is actually something we've struggled with for a little bit now. It's recruitment is not an easy thing for a new unit on Arma 3,
Hmm.
just because there's so many different units that are already embedded here.
Yep.
Um, we've done a lot to get our name out there, and we've started a lot of outreach, and we've worked through a lot of different means, um, and we've had a few different means of success, and we're very proud of those means of success. But we're often surprised in the sources that people find us. So
Hmm. That's interesting. Well, definitely. I mean, with this podcast, with your presence on Milsim units, we're going to help support you, get the word out about you and your operations here to get a wider sphere. And I mean, again, this is unique because I know there are other PMC units out there. I mean, there have been historically. They've come and gone just like any other kind of focus, but. Having a set of guys here who are, professional, they're squared away, and they're good to go with their operations. I mean, it's good for us too in the community. Again, because people are looking for options, and people come and go. They get tired of one thing, they want to try something new. So Definitely. With that being said, I want to hear about how you balance the realism, the lore, the immersion with the fun side of things. Because at the end of the day, that's what keeps everybody coming back. If they're having a good time, if they're running and gunning with their buddies, things are looking pretty solid. So, what's the balance there in terms of how detailed you want to go versus just having a good time together with your friends.
Uh, Jeremiah, what do you think on that?
We honestly, it's kind of weird. We have a weird way of prioritizing realism. My personal opinion is that you kind of put the realism first and the fun follows with it, at least for me. And a lot of people that I've played with throughout the years have shared that sentiment. We run cat medical, ace, all that stuff because I find it actually enhances the gameplay. Arma 3's basic gameplay gets kind of bland, at least in my opinion. So that realism enhances the fun. It makes the fights more brutal, makes the pressure higher. I feel that actually makes it more fun, make it more realistic. Um, Same thing with the equipment. We do a budget for our equipment, so you can pretty much have whatever guns you want, so long as you can fit them into your budget.
Hmm.
Which makes a mixture of that, like using the equipment that you want being fun, but also not just everybody running around with 50 caliber machine guns, which ruins the fun for everybody. So it's a good
Sure.
mixture, I feel.
Yeah, well, I mean, just on a personal note, I can say you can never have too many M2s, but I hear you. I
I
mean,
would agree. Yeah.
I think, especially if you're rocking just like techies or Humvees or whatever. But no, seriously, I think that's legit. Running cat, keeping a budget for your weapons and your gear. I mean, that's the real deal. When you get to it, this isn't some open. Well, I mean, not that the DoD budget is open ended, but that's another story. But yeah, when you're trying to run a tight shop with limited resources and you've got an epic job in front of you, man, I think those details really add up to the immersion. And when everybody's on board, when they buy into it, I think that really does add to the excitement and just the kind of the challenges or the good times that you have overcoming the challenges you face in the field. So that's pretty cool. Now, a lot of guys, and looking back to the GWAT, the good old days in Iraq. I mean, the media were basically reporting is that if over the Wild West, gunfights on every corner. A lot of PMCs got a kind of cowboy, image attached to them. So, with that being said, I mean, you guys are striving for realism. I mean, and there are lessons learned from 2003, 2004 that a lot of PMCs have employed now. How would you describe Expedient Solutions culture and the camaraderie that you guys have developed together?
I think a lot of it has to do with our history together, like especially for the leadership. The three of us, myself, Jeremiah, Mason, all tend to be pretty on board with most things. Um, it we don't we try to communicate as best we can, especially with our members as well. At the end of the day, like the three of us all have had some experience um, with poor leadership in the past, and we try our best to communicate as best as possible, as best as possible, and really realize that everybody here is a human being and a person. You can't get anybody willing to involve themselves with anything that you're trying to do unless you be personable, unless you at least try to hear them out if they have an issue or they have a problem. Um, Communication is and has always been one of the biggest things for me. I think Jeremiah and Mason would probably agree on that. Um, our
Yeah.
culture is, like you said, yes, there are some cowboy moments for sure. Uh, we embrace that. Um, you know, especially in early GWAT, the media would portray a lot of these people and a lot of these units as a lot of different things, but they were professionals for a reason, and we like to think of ourselves similarly. We do things professionally, um, but we can get a little crazy at times, in a good way.
To interject, like in I know there was with Blackwater the big situation where they fired machine guns into a crowd because they were taking fire from the crowd.
Yep.
Like obviously, that kind of stuff happens. And our unit, we've tried to learn the lessons from the past to avoid that stuff because we try, I actually like to think about it where like we have to actually think about public perception with what we do, but then we also have to think about the practical gunfight that we're in at the moment. You can have all the PR wins in the world, but if all your men are dead because of it, what did you achieve? So we kind of balance it. We want to make it where our unit could have that good PR realistically, but at the end of the day, getting our guys out alive is our main goal.
That's pretty fascinating. I mean, definitely, you guys are taking leadership seriously, developing those relationships and, again, kind of, developing the lore in terms of PMC ops. And I got a note in terms of what you said on communications. That applies not only tactically but also, behind the scenes, RTB. It's one thing to be able to shoot and to move, but if you can't communicate, man, you're at a disadvantage, and you're putting your teammates at a disadvantage as well. So, sounds like you guys have a really well-rounded and kind of developed just spirit, esprit de corps in the unit. So that's impressive. Now, you mentioned the challenges of recruitment and retention. It sounds like you've given people options, got a good time frame, kind of middle of the road for just about everybody who would be interested in getting involved. Now, what would you say makes somebody a good fit for Expedient Solutions?
I think, to be honest, the biggest thing that we've struggled with in the past is just people not really being eager to work with us. Um, we try to communicate, and we try to be very for our members. I specifically, I know Jeremiah and Mason has the same thought process. We try to put our members first, and how they think. We've had members in the past that will come in and will just not take anything seriously at all. And I think that's been the biggest issue for us personally. Jeremiah, what are your thoughts?
So regarding how we try it, the kind of people that fit our unit, obviously, yeah, we've had issues with people that just are there. They see we're a PMC and they think it means they can do whatever they want.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we're trying to run this as if like we're running a fictional business at the end of the day. So, we have that kind of corporate element. So people that know how to fit in at a job and, get in line when they need to, because there's always times to argue with us. Anybody in the unit can come to me at any time and argue with me, but they have to know when. Because if you're arguing with me in the middle of a gunfight, there's a problem. So just people that are professional, and are good, know when is the time and place for everything. They'll get on really well. Also, if you're really into guns, you'll probably love the unit because I will find you a gun that you want for cheaper than you could find it. Or Mason will.
Or I will.
Andrew, didn't we build you out that 416 A5 for like $2,000?
Yeah,
That one
yeah,
time?
it was a little ridiculous. So, do you want me to go in detail on how we did that, or?
No, because it makes me want to blow my brains out.
Good shit. Yeah,
But
that sounds cool.
I mean that it goes with our budgeting thing. If when you're making your loadout, you're going to be looking at real prices on stuff. So if you want to shop around for guns and want a reason to do it, our unit's as good as any.
There you go, ladies and gents. You heard it here. So, I mean, definitely, and that's the thing. You got to get, well, I guess stereotypes aside. Not everybody is going to run everything, in the meme kind of way of doing things, or the caricatured version. So, taking that professionalism, definitely. I mean, that's really what for the immersive, for the hardcore units. That's what keeps them going in the long run. Because I mean, like you said, balancing the good time with the the seriousness, the immersion, the discipline. It can be tough. You really got to be all in, and leadership's they got to take take the stake and encourage everybody else to follow suit. So I mean, that's good shit. Now, again, we'll have the Discord link in the video description here, under the podcast. So I encourage people to take a look, get on their Discord. What's the best way that somebody can get a hold of a recruiter or get involved in Expedient Solutions?
You can literally just DM one of the three of us, um, myself, Jeremiah, or Mason. I will send you Mason's Discord if you would like to put that anywhere. But
Sure.
like, we all try to be pretty personable, and before I really interact with anybody like in the unit or get them involved in it, I'll sit down and talk with them, see what kind of person they are. I like getting to know people, and if you want a unit that's going to want to get to know you, then I mean I will absolutely do my best for that, and I know Jeremiah and Mason will probably do the same.
All right, sounds good. Now, how do you interact with the broader Milsim community? Whether you're on Discord on the web or you're in game. I mean, how do you interact with other units?
Well, we've only recently started, breaching out into that. Whenever we found Milsim units, and whenever I got kind of involved with it, I set up the website. I set up our link to from Milsim units on the actual Armor 3 page for Milsim units. Um, I tried to make contact here in the Discord as much as I could. Uh, that was a lot. Um, I did that within the span of about a week. So getting to know how broad and how large the community is was very refreshing, because I remember when I first started to um, get involved in Arma 3 Milsim, I did not realize how large it was because I couldn't figure out how people were recruiting.
Hmm.
Um, and seeing that there are other units, and especially a whole community now that's willing to help us, and that we are willing to reach out to and be a part of a larger community, is very refreshing and is very interesting to me.
Well, that's great. I mean, because and I've said it here on the podcast before. On milsimunits.com, we have over 300 units now, and I mean, it's day by day, week by week, it just keeps climbing upwards. There's a lot of excitement in the community. I mean, Armor 3 has been going strong for over a decade now. It's really the kind of tried and true platform for Milsim. If you can dream it up and script it, basically you can do it in game almost. But with that being said, Reforger is taking off. We've got the Armor 4 release date projected to 2027. There's games like Bellum that are in the works. We've got some other games that are in kind of pre-alpha testing. So, with that being said, what's the future look like for Expedient Solutions? I mean, you guys, it sounds like you got a good thing going, and you're looking to grow and involve more people in the community. But where do you see Expedient in the next year, say this time, 2026?
Jeremiah and I actually just talked about this before the podcast even started.
Hmm.
Um, I personally don't think Arma 3 is going anywhere. Uh, I think Arma 3 is here to stay, especially with how broad the modding community is.
Hmm.
I don't think there's going to be a super ready player base to switch on to Arma 4 like right off the bat. Um, Reforger is its own beast. There's a lot of different things going on in Reforger, and the modding community there is still working very hard to catch up to the modding scene in Arma 3. Um, but there is a reason that we decided to come back to Arma 3 instead of commit to Reforger.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, definitely. As a PMC, I mean, Reforger, if you love Cold War stuff, and I mean, I can get into it, but yeah, I mean, you just don't have the options. The workshop has been, getting, fuller and fuller for well over a year now. But I remember with Arma 3, it was almost 3 years before the Arma mods that we all kind of rely on now for just day-to-day operations were ready to go and in place in the community. So yeah, there's going to be some lag time, some development that needs to be done, and those kind of kinks that need to be worked out. So you sounds like you're pretty solid on Arma 3 for the foreseeable future then.
Yeah, for sure. Jeremiah, what do you think about that as well? I know you said a few things before the podcast that I thought were pretty
So yeah, so my take on Armory Forger, I've played it. It's all right. I'm not big into it, but that's because it just runs terribly every time I've played it. But I just don't really see a future for Arma Reforger when Arma 4 comes out. Because if
Hmm.
assuming Arma 4 is able to get console players on, which it might not, maybe then Reforger will have its niche.
Right.
But for like PC, Reforger isn't really, I don't see it being able to hold people once Arma 4 comes out, because I feel like Arma 4 is just going to have more options going for it. It's going to probably be more expansive. That's all speculation, though. But for the here and now, realistically, there's still some really crazy stuff going on with Arma 3 modding. If you've ever seen the Reap IR mod that came out a couple
Hmm.
months back, I think it's
Yep.
still work in progress, but I mean, they're getting a working screen within the optic that you can mess with in game. Thinking about where that could go, you could have like functional computers in Arma that you have to like go through to find files for ops and stuff. That could be
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man.
And I just don't see a whole lot of innovation coming from Arma Reforger. I see a lot of working with what the game's given, what the game already has within it, and then just expanding that out, which is great. And that's where you have to start. But in order for it to reach the same level of innovation that Arma 3 has, I just see it taking too long. That Arma 4 is going to come out, and I have a feeling a lot of people will find Arma 4 easier to mod than Reforger.
Sure. Yeah, I see where you're coming from there. Definitely. I mean, with Reforger, the writing's on the wall. It's just a stepping stone, and it's basically what Bohemia Interactive said at the launch time that this was the bridge between Arma 3 and 4. So, yeah, I hate to say it, I don't see a lot of mods coming up in Reforger where you got guys in Hawaiian shirts and I don't know, crazy old surplus weapons and M60s and stuff. But I mean, I guess they got the M60s, but that's for another story. But we'll see, definitely. But I'm looking forward to seeing what comes with Expedient Solutions, going through 2025. Time will tell. Now,
no,
go ahead.
none of that is of course to say that like any of the units on Armor Forger are bad or anything like that. Like I
No,
still
I've spent time
No,
in them.
no,
They're great.
it's just a
yeah,
different
I still
experience.
have contact with a lot of really solid guys and really solid units on Armor Forger. It's just not for us.
Sure. Yeah, and definitely. I mean, Arma 3 is the mainstay for Milsim. Like I said, whether you're blue for op for whatever, because of the mods, because of the community, all the people who have continue to develop their or devote, I should say, their time and their talent to making things more immersive. The graphics might not be so much to talk about. I mean, there's some good mods to help with that as well. But the experience in Arma 3 is different. Reforger is fun, but it's a different player base and just a different level of I don't want to say tactical or technical gameplay, but it's just a different experience. It's not for everybody.
Sure.
Now, what do you think? The milsim community in general could use in terms of innovation or changes. I mean, looking at the future, you guys are set in Arma 3, but what would you like to see come out, if not in Arma 3, from other communities, other gameplay platforms? What do you want to see in the future to come?
Honestly, I'm sure Jeremiah has his own host of different things he could talk about, but the biggest thing for me is just a method of recruiting that is solid. Um, we can post Reddit posts, we can post Steam posts, we can, uh, even post in here in the Discord, and they're all really solid ways of getting our name out there. But um, nothing will rival like the way console is able to recruit different people. Um, like I can't throw up a post and somebody just check that within a few clicks of a button and then just join while we're in progress and then become interested in the unit, like I have done with console in the past,
Hmm.
in different units
Xbox
that we've done.
LFG is the king of group finding,
It literally is. Yeah.
and it's so sad that there's no equivalent for PC.
I gotcha. Yeah, yeah, that makes. I mean, shit. I know. That's the thing. In my own experience in Milsim, I did just about everything except recruiting because it is such a labor and time intensive pain in the ass. You got to keep up on people. You got to make a million posts a day. You got to check them all. You got a million DMs. Some pass, some fail. Some slip through your fingers. It's frustrating. So by all means, I definitely. I mean, that's something for I guess community leaders for the devs out there. I don't know, maybe for Steam, whoever, Discord. Throw us a bone, man. Help us in our never-ending attempt at recruiting and retention people because that's what really makes or breaks a unit in the end. So yeah, I feel for you. It's going to be a challenge, perpetually, but we'll see what comes.
I think as far as the different units themselves, it it makes me sad to say, but like there is a little bit less variety nowadays than I seem to remember early on when I used to dream about playing Arma 3 on PC.
Hmm.
I remember there being a lot more ideas. Uh, I remember like often airborne inserts. I remember often aerosol inserts. I remember often different things that I feel like we don't see as much of anymore in the milsim scene. Or if we do, then there are specific units that do that specific thing. Uh, whereas I seem to remember there used to be units that would do all of these different variety of different things. Um, our goal is to be able to do all of those things while still keeping our unit's identity and keeping, you know, realism in mind.
Sure. So keeping the events at that epic level of experience for everybody, but at the same time, keeping the theme going for the PMCs. And I think I know what you mean because it seems like back in the day, there were more modders, more active. There was more coming out at a higher level, more maps. Updates were more frequent. And you're right, a lot of units, they would mix stuff up. They might be, a line based, or ground infantry unit, but they would have airborne drops or, amphibious assaults or take place in that or take part in that kind of activity. And now I won't say that doesn't occur. It isn't a thing anymore, but there are a lot more kind of, I guess, regimented units and groups out there. They're kind of, they've done it, they've seen it all, and they're kind of they find their groove, or I guess in some cases their rut, as they go forward from month to month, year to year.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that in mind, let's get into some of your personal insights. I mean, we've got a lot of information, under our belts in terms of Expedient Solutions and your kind of your development and where you fit in the greater scheme of the Armorverse. Personally though, what's your favorite aspect of Milsim gaming? I mean, again, you guys have years long histories here across platforms and different units. What is it that keeps you coming back?
Jeremiah, you go ahead.
Honestly, for me, it's just having that like solid group of friends who you can somewhat interchange with each other while also and having that consistent theme because it's easy to go play like Ghost Recon, for example. That's where we start out. It's easy to go play Ghost Recon, just grab like four friends and just kind of do whatever on it. But then, throwing on that layer of there's a somewhat story because we're this mercenary company operating in Bolivia, it lets you create your own thing within something else that's been created. Being able to turn a game that's designed for one thing and just kind of turn it into your own playground and sandbox is great. I love that, and it's fun being able to just go through, set up your loadouts, figure out how you're going to do things, take the time to look at a base, plan it out, attack it. I mean, there's nothing more satisfying than, spending 30 minutes sitting outside a base with binocs and a drone, reconning the base, writing down all the patrol paths, then going in, killing everybody without them even knowing you were there.
Yeah, I hear that. It's one thing to be running and gunning, goes recon or whatever your fancy may be, but at the end of the day, it's just a match. It's just a game. It doesn't really mean anything. But when you've got something to look back at, something that connects you with the mission that you're in now or the one that you're planning for coming up, it definitely I think it's exciting if you're creative, if you've got imagination, if you want to embrace that immersive aspect. And yeah, that's the place to be. And what about you, Andrew?
Um, Jeremiah, you're gonna have to forgive me. I'm gonna nerd out a little bit. Um,
All good.
for me, for me, it's the medical. It's the being able to uh, apply my knowledge of combat medicine and my training is really 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 cool to me. Um, we literally have an entire subunit within Expedient Solutions that's based entirely off of following doctrinal combat medicine as best as I'm able to host that program to do. Um, Striving for medicine to be practiced correctly within a battlefield setting and within Milsim is has always been a very big passion of mine uh, because I don't ever see it done very amazingly. We see different medevac systems never actually being employed, even if a lot of units have the capability of doing them. I think Cap Medical does a really, really good job, but I think a lot of it too is the training and how medics think, and it goes a long way for me personally.
Sure, absolutely. And it sounds like for both of you, you get out of it what you put into it in terms of that immersion.
Yeah.
Yeah, outstanding. Now, with all that being said, if you could design like the single greatest, the most epic operation, or even a single mission for Expedient Solutions, or just for anything, anybody in the Armorverse, what would it look like for you?
Crazy. It'd be crazy, but it'd be good. It'd be but it'd be crazy. Um,
Tell me more.
I think it would look like me, Mason, and Jeremiah sitting down for 3 weeks planning it, and then finally executing it in a amazing day. Uh, I think it would be. It's just like you said before. It's what you put into it. Uh, I think it would have to be something that we put a lot of effort into, and I think it'd be a lot more involved than us saying it's going to look like this. Um, I think the three of us all have our own opinions of what a really fun operation and really good and really doctrinal operation would look like.
Sure. But yeah, either way, you would put the really get into the finer details, not just kind of what is that improvise, adapt, and overcome like so many people like to do. You would actually get everything lined up in order before you even pull the trigger.
To the best of our ability, yeah. You don't want to go into anything without a solid plan. Um, Improvisation is often part of the plan. It's part of the fun, but you can't go in planning for pitfalls. It's just not. Um, as a good friend of mine would say, it's not kosher.
I was just gonna say, I was thinking to myself, the bullshit all stops once the lead starts flying. Either you're on it or you're off.
Right.
So, well, in terms of your outfit here, and your PMC, your mercenary kind of mindset, are there any traditions, any rituals, or anything kind of unique, to the unit that you're willing to share with the greater community?
Um, I think historically we've had quite a few things. I'll let Jeremiah talk about this as well, but there are a number of things that we have done in the past that we definitely plan on implementing. I plan on implementing in the future. I remember me and Jeremiah just talked about this before the podcast. I remember one of the first times we ever did an airborne insert. That was on Breakpoint Ghost Recon a while back. Uh, we we did the whole like Dirty 13 thing, where we did like Native American face paint and we all wore like mohawks. Um, Things similar to that, and like that's definitely like whenever we do our first combat jump is definitely something I would want to do. Um, it's the little things like that that I definitely foresee us planning for, but we don't have solid groundwork things that we are going to do. Just things that we've done in the past that we'll probably re-implement later on.
Sure. Yeah, well, you had me thinking. There were some real badass units in the U.S. military and elsewhere throughout history, whose kind of legendary spirit and their accomplishments have been captured in like a single photograph. And I think for Arma 3 particularly, but for just about any Milsim game, a single screenshot could really kind of define kind of I don't know monumentalize the legend and the kind of epic nature of a unit. So I'm thinking, guys doing an airborne jump with face paint and mohawks, man. I'm a big screenshot guy. I'm a big camera angle kind of guy. So that sounds like a pretty badass experience to me.
Hell yeah.
All right, now. We were talking about loadouts a little bit here, and you kind of piqued my interest. So I got to say, just for fun, what is your go-to loadouts for operations? What are you guys packing?
Jeremiah, you go ahead with that, man.
All right, because I'm going to be able to touch the things and to remind myself. So first and foremost, Daniel Defense M4A1 Block 2 with a EOTech 553 optic, BCM Mod 3 grip, Surefire SOCOM 2 suppressor, and a PEC 2 laser on it for my rifle. Then a grounding high power for my pistol, running a Spiritus Systems LV119 vest, set up for camo. Throwing on a black fast helmet on top of that, with the Comtac 2s on them. Then from there, I typically throw on some kind of back panel or backpack to hold some extra junk that I just throw in whatever vehicle I'm operating out of. I pretty much always have my Desert Knight top, and then pants kind of go between Rhodesian brushstroke and multicam, kind of whatever I'm feeling that day.
Nice. That's pretty solid. I got to ask, the high power, is that a 15 cap mag? I forget.
Yeah, it's well, so in game they're 13 cap, but new production magazines in real life are 15 cap.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just because the spring takes less space in the real one in the new ones.
Yep. Yep. Well, either way, I mean that's pretty solid, man. Light, mobile, but you got a hell of a lot of firepower if you need to use it. So, pretty badass. Now, let me ask about the perennial favorite of the podcast here. All right, so you guys are PMCs. You're kind of doing your own thing in a professional nature. Is there a particular military movie or miniseries or even TV show that you think best captures the spirit of Expedient Solutions?
Um, Jeremiah, you go ahead. I got to think about that question.
Okay,
Yeah.
so for me, obviously I'd love to say Generation Kill because that's the classic, but honestly, I don't think we quite reached that because, their life sucked and they were hating it half of the time. I think we're Kelly's heroes.
That's great. I love it.
For me, um, I guess it would kind of depend on the operation, but we've had a lot of good ones where, yeah, it really does feel like some of the more fun moments in Generation Kill. We don't sing while we're driving, but we've had
Yeah.
experiences that are more, yeah, yet, but we've had experiences that are entertaining, just like that, for sure.
Sure. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, some wild moments, crazy times, plenty of gunplay. So really capturing, I guess, the best of all aspects of Milsim gaming. So good shit, good shit. And to our audience members, if you haven't seen, I mean, I hope everyone's seen Generation Kill by now. Kelly's Heroes, it's a classic. There were a lot of great war movies that came out in the late '60s into the '70s. If you haven't seen it, man, at least check out the clips. You got to see Oddball. There was one YouTube clip that called him the greatest American hero, and I think there's some truth to that. So. You got me wanting to get online and check out my stream list and watch that again now. All right, now let me ask a little bit more, I guess, introspective question here. I want to turn the light back on to me. You guys have been involved with Milsim units. We're happy to have you on the podcast here, and just to, engage with you as you're growing and developing the unit, within the community here. How has your experience been with in terms of the Milsim units Discord, the website? What has been helpful for you, and what do you think we guys could improve on to help you make the most of your unit?
Well, I think it's been pretty awesome. I think from the moment that I got in here and started, getting everything worked out, LaFlash was very, very helpful. I think, getting on this podcast with you has been truly a blessing. I think working with the website has been pretty great. The only criticism that I would ever make is that I can't modify and edit any of the stuff on the Milsim Units website on mobile. Like I can't. For example, I've been on leave for the last week or so,
Hmm.
and I haven't had my computer here, and I needed to fix the link to our unit's Discord, and I couldn't do that because I only had my phone, and I couldn't fix anything on mobile.
Gotcha.
Um, but that's it. That's the only gripe I've ever had, and even then, it's a small thing, and I've fixed it now, so it's not even a big deal. Um, but I'm very, very happy to be able to work with a lot of the guys on Milsim units, especially given that I've encountered some of them in the past on Reforger back when I used to play that. So that was really interesting. That was a really good time.
Well, that's great. I appreciate it. I mean, definitely. We want to keep it real. This is a passion or a labor of love, I guess you could say. For LaFlash, most certainly for everybody involved, me, all the devs, the mods, who are contributing. LaFlash, man, I mean, he's been in Milsim longer than just about anybody else I know. A real veteran, literally, and then in the Armorverse as well. And we just want to see people have a good time. We want to increase that interaction, develop and deepen the community, and like I said, just bring out the best in people and their experiences. So whatever we can do, we're happy to help, and just let us know. Now, in terms of the mobile website management, yeah, it's a work in progress. I know our lead dev is sorting out a lot of the details on that. So bear with us. Definitely on our radar in terms of development of the site. Hoping to get some updates out there and let the community know where we stand on that. But definitely keep the feedback coming because that helps us improve ourselves, and it's kind of a ripple effect in the community. So outstanding. Now, we've covered a lot here. Got to know the ins and outs of E.SOL. Got to know a lot about you two guys and your background here. What you're doing to build up the community. What's one thing that you want people to know about Expedient Solutions that they don't know and we haven't talked about tonight?
Um, Jeremiah, you go first. I've got something to say, but I was wondering what you thought.
I'd rather you say it first while I think.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so for me, it's the unit breakdown. We haven't really dived super deep into it, um, but the three of us as directors, myself, Mason, Jeremiah, all lead a specific unit within Expedient Solutions, and all of them focus on um, different things, I guess. Jeremiah talked about it literally at the beginning of the podcast. Eclipse is our mainline infantry unit. Mason leads over Ember, Ember very, very heavily specializes in our forward internal defense, and working a lot with the AI and working a lot with Anastasi. Um, I lead over our medical unit. Equinox team is uh, has been a passion project of mine for quite a while now, and something that I've wanted to implement in Milsim for uh, no shit years. And getting to finally do it has been quite a dream come true.
Hmm. That's great. So, again, not quite a military unit per se, but you guys got the structure between infantry, the FID, and the medical aspect. I mean, really, when you think about the Army experience, the only thing else, I mean, I guess you could throw armor out there if you're talking about, U.S., mainline infantry, and there's aviation. But in terms of small unit operations, you guys got the bases covered. There's like I said, there's something for everybody here across the board.
Also, our lore. Um, we've written and are still writing consistently different lore for our unit and how it came to exist and sort of the world behind it. We didn't want to just be a unit that is a thing in real life. We wanted a unique world that kind of fell in line with Arma and was interesting. We've all, the three of us, have worked pretty hard on that.
That sounds good to me. And I can tell you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, virtually and maybe in real life too, getting this all together. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the future. What 2025 has in store for E.SOL, and just how you guys grow and develop, your people along the way. So let me ask you, Jeremiah, any closing thoughts? Anything that you want to add that we hadn't covered?
Well, so quickly addressing the aviation and armor thing you mentioned. Aviation's been wrapped into Equinox for the time being, just until we get enough aviation to make it its own branch. And armor is part of Eclipse, but we don't use armor like the traditional way, where it's kind of its own separate thing. We kind of just we go a little bit Russian with our infantry strategies of throwing dudes on top of armored vehicles for
Yep.
transport. We're it kind of exemplar. It feels very. We take a lot of inspiration from Wagner as well with that. So there might be ops where you're riding on the top of a BTR into incoming enemy fire. That's kind of when the cowboy moments come out.
Yep. No, no, never a dull moment in the security business. But no, that sounds cool to me, man. I mean, so yeah, it's like I guess maybe I wasn't giving you enough credit. I wasn't envisioning. I remember, Andrew saying you had one helicopter pilot, but yeah, so yeah, you keep a solid mix there, and that's one of the good things about the PMC world. You're not constrained so much by SOPs and about I won't say you aren't constrained about laws of war, but it's more of a budget thing. It's more about what you're physically capable of, and you gotta use what you got to make the most of the opportunities. All right. Well, again, we're going to get your Discord in the video description here. So, guys, check out Expedient Solutions here. Take a look at what they've got to offer here. We'll get some links up to other media for them. But this has been great. Again, a learning experience for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people who might have done the kind of mainstream thing, but never looked at a PMC unit before. Any closing thoughts before we wrap things up?
I just wanted to say thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure. Uh, yeah.
Good shit. I appreciate it, gentlemen. It's great to have you. We'll be in touch. Looking forward to, again, seeing where you guys, are as we move through the rest of the year. It'd be great to have you on the podcast again at a future time to catch up and see what else is going on. But good shit, very entertaining, and happy to have you guys along, with the other units here on Milsim units. So, ladies and gents, it's been great. I appreciate you guys tolerating my hoarse voice. I joke with my friends I had a really Christmas in Kabul, but that's another story. But that's all we got for podcast number 9 tonight. We'll be back with another unit here very soon to keep things going. Until then, this is C. Brock signing off.